I wanted to take just a few minutes to talk you through the SA2 topic page where you will be introduced to your requirements for SA2. So for this assignment, you have two basic choices. The first is to write about theme development through the use of literary conflict. The second is to write about a central message conveyed through a symbol. The central message is basically your theme. So let me read these to you and we'll talk about them. So the first one, the end plays itself out and I'm down here on the floor, deal with complex themes. Choose one of these two stories and identify the primary theme of that story. Then write an analysis essay exploring how the author develops the theme through both internal and external conflict. It's important you correctly identify both the themes and the conflict correctly. So you will choose, in this case, one of these two stories, and you will write about how both internal and external conflicts are used to develop the overall theme or message of the story. In order to do well on this essay, it would be important that you're only focusing in on one of these two stories, that you are correctly identifying the theme, and that you are showing how in each paragraph that theme is being developed into its central idea through either the internal conflict or the external conflict. But you are required to both write about the internal and the external. So you've got three tall tasks here to talk about internal conflict, external conflict, and theme development. All right, for option two. Often in literary works, authors choose a physical object which takes on a special significance in the work and becomes a symbol of something beyond itself. Show how in Honey Boy, the author constructs Honey Boy as a Christ-like figure to develop the central message of the story. In your essay, focus on how the symbol is constructed, what it symbolizes, how the writer conveys the message to the reader through the symbol, and how that message affects the reader. So for this essay, each paragraph is going to explore how the writer is constructing a symbol to develop the theme. In this case, your symbol is going to be Honey Boy as a Christ-like figure and how that's going to convey that central message. Again, central message is being used here kind of interchangeably with the idea of a theme. Important note, for each body paragraph, you will want to choose specific quotes and passages from the story to support your claims, but you want to avoid excessive plot summary. You can provide some context, but you don't want to retell the story. In other words, be sure to avoid simply retelling what happened in your story. You should assume your reader has read the story. As such, there's no need to summarize the plot. And we'll talk about this more as we work through this process for each class. Basic requirements. You have a minimum word count of 1,000 words. This does not include your header, your heading, your title, your in-text citations, or your works cited page. You have a maximum of 1,500 words. You're required at least 6 total paragraphs, so that would be 1 introductory paragraph, at least 4 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. You will have a thesis statement that clearly presents your analytical argument regarding the work and that fully addresses the prompt. All your body paragraphs will include a topic sentence that demonstrates a clear relationship with the thesis and a provable point that will be proven through at least 2 pieces of evidence from the story. Because you're working with a literary analysis, you're going to use quotes from the story. When I say quotes, I don't mean quotes of what people are saying, but passages of text that you are using word for word. That is considered a quote from the story. When choosing evidence for each paragraph, it's best to use quotes from the story, which is what I just said. Those quotes should be integrated with a signal phrase, a concise quote, an in-text citation, and an explanation of how the quote proves the point you're trying to prove. I've provided you some links on MLA, in-text citations, MLA for page setup. We'll talk through each of these things. This essay will be written strictly in third-person point of view. This means that you will not use first person. The only exception to using first person or second person is if a quote from the story that you are using employs that point of view, but your actual writing will be third-person point of view. When writing about literature, keep in mind you should be using the literary present tense, and you'll want to make sure you proofread and edit carefully. You have a series of due dates with this assignment. There will be your topic selection and thesis submission. That will be your first deadline. Then you'll have an outline, a rough draft, a peer review. We'll have a class where there's a conference day like we did for our essay 1. You'll have your final draft and your extra credit minute paper. I've provided you a couple of resources. If you click this link, it'll take you to some formal writing guidelines. And the second one will link you to our course module with the Essay Writer's Toolbox. And as a reminder, academic integrity is of the utmost importance, so you'll want to be mindful of that. Additionally, in this module, you also have access to 3 literary analysis sample essays. It's important to note what these students were writing about may be different stories or different topics than what you've been provided, but each provides a decent literary analysis for their assignments at that time. They did a pretty good job, so that is worth noting. I would encourage you to have a look at those. I've also provided you a sample outline, which we will look at when we get closer to the outline. And then I've provided you an essay rubric so that you can see how grading will work. It's a 100-point rubric, whereas yours is only a 15-point rubric, but the weight of each category, as well as the categories that are presented, will remain the same for your particular essay. So what's here is ultimately how you will be evaluated. I hope this video has helped you. If you have questions or you need help, I'm always here. One final note, I don't think this was on the assignment page explicitly, but for this essay, you will not use any outside sources with the exception of the short story. Obviously, that is a source that you're using. It's your primary source. No additional sources will be used. You should only be using the story, what you've learned from class, and your brain. I hope you have understood all of these instructions. And again, if I can be of help to you, please let me know.